The relentless hum of New York City pulsed through the thin walls of Alex Thompson's cramped Manhattan apartment. At 32, Alex was a rising star in the cutthroat world of digital marketing, juggling endless Zoom calls, pitch decks, and caffeine-fueled all-nighters. His days blurred into a frenzy of deadlines, leaving little room for anything beyond the glow of his laptop screen. But on this crisp autumn morning, as sunlight filtered through the grimy window blinds, Alex finally paused. He grabbed his phone from the cluttered nightstand, thumb scrolling lazily through a backlog of unread messages. There it was, a text from Jake, his college roommate and closest buddy from their wild days at Boston University. "Hey bro, Sarah and I are tying the knot. Save the date, details coming soon." The message was dated 4 months back. Alex chuckled to himself, remembering those undergrad years, late-night study sessions turning into beer pong marathons, and Sarah, the vibrant art major with her infectious laugh and piercing green eyes. She'd been the unspoken crush of their trio, but when Jake made his move senior year, Alex had bowed out gracefully, burying his feelings under a facade of bro-code loyalty. Life had pulled them in different directions after graduation. Jake landed a steady engineering gig in Chicago, Sarah pursued her graphic design dreams, and Alex chased the big city hustle in NYC. They'd kept in touch sporadically, holiday cards, occasional group chats, but weddings? That was a milestone Alex couldn't afford to miss. Sipping his steaming black coffee from a chipped mug emblazoned with "World's Okayest Marketer," he typed out a quick reply. "Hey man, what's the date for the big day? Can't wait to celebrate." The response pinged back in seconds, shattering the quiet morning. "Dude, the wedding was last weekend. Where were you? We missed you at the reception. Epic dance floor fail without your moves." Alex's grip faltered, and the mug tumbled from his hand, hot coffee splattering across the worn hardwood floor like a bad omen. He stared at the screen, heart pounding. Missed the whole wedding? How the hell had that happened? Frantic, he dove into the chaos of his junk drawer, overflowing with expired coupons, tangled earbuds, and stacks of untouched mail. There, buried beneath a pile of greasy takeout menus from his favorite Thai spot on 7th Avenue, was the elegant cream envelope, unopened. The gold-embossed invitation mocked him. "Jacob Ellis and Sarah Monroe request the honor of your presence." Panic surged through him like a subway rush hour crowd. This wasn't just any event. Jake was family, the guy who'd talked him off ledges during finals week, shared crappy dorm pizza, and stood by him through his parents' messy divorce. And Sarah? God, Sarah. She'd always been the what-if in his life, the girl whose smile could light up a room, whose quick wit matched his own. Back in college, he'd fantasized about confessing his feelings over cheap diner coffee, but timing was never right. Now, she'd walked down the aisle without him even knowing. Alex slumped onto his unmade bed, the city sirens wailing outside like a soundtrack to his regret. How had he let work consume him so completely? Emails about client campaigns had trumped real life, turning him into a ghost in his own friendships. He fired off another text. "I'm so sorry, man. Total screw up on my end. Tell me everything. How was it?" But deep down, he knew apologies wouldn't cut it. This blunder cut deeper, stirring up old emotions he'd long suppressed. As the coffee stains spread across the floor, Alex realized this might be more than a missed party. It could be the wake-up call he desperately needed. Little did he know, it would unravel threads leading back to unfinished business with Sarah, forcing him to confront the paths not taken in the relentless race of adult life. Alex couldn't sit still. He paced the narrow confines of his Manhattan studio, the city lights flickering through the window like accusatory stares. The stilled coffee from earlier had dried into a sticky mess on the floor, but cleaning it up was the last thing on his mind. Instead, memories flooded him, vivid snapshots from their college days at Boston University, late nights in the cramped dorm room, cramming for exams with Jake's terrible instant ramen and Sarah's homemade brownies. She was always the glue, with her sketchbook full of doodles and her endless supply of optimism. Alex remembered the way her green eyes lit up during debates in philosophy class, how she'd challenge him on everything from existentialism to the best pizza toppings. Back then, the three of them were unbreakable. Road trips to Cape Cod where they'd blast classic rock and argue over shotgun. Alex had harbored a crush on Sarah since freshman orientation, drawn to her free spirit and sharp humor. But he never made a move, too scared of ruining the dynamic. When Jake confessed his feelings senior year after a drunken karaoke night, Alex clapped him on the back and said, "Go for it, man, she's perfect." He'd played the supportive friend, burying his own heartache under a pile of post-grad job applications. Now, years later, that decision haunted him. Missing their wedding felt like the ultimate betrayal, a sign he'd prioritized his climbing career ladder over the people who mattered. His phone buzzed with notifications, work emails piling up, but Alex ignored them. He dialed Jake's number, his thumb hovering before pressing call. When Jake picked up, his voice was warm but edged with surprise. "Alex, everything okay?" "I'm so sorry, dude," Alex blurted out, words tumbling like a dam breaking. "I totally spaced on the invitation. Work's been a nightmare, back-to-back campaigns, no sleep, but that's no excuse. I feel like the biggest jerk." Jake chuckled, that easygoing laugh Alex had always envied. "Hey, it's all good, bro. The ceremony was beautiful. Sarah looked stunning in her dress. We had a killer band, open bar, the works. But yeah, we noticed you weren't there." There was a pause, and Alex caught the subtle undercurrent of hurt. "Honeymoon kicks off tomorrow. Hawaii. Beaches, luau's, the whole tropical vibe. We'll catch up when we're back in Chicago, yeah?" Alex hung up, the guilt twisting like a knife in his gut. He was the world's worst friend, no doubt about it. Jake had been there for him through thick and thin, helping him move to New York, even co-signing his first lease. And Sarah, she'd sent him care packages during his early struggling days in the city. How could he make this right? A belated gift? A lame apology card? No, that was too impersonal. Then an insane idea sparked. Crash the honeymoon? Show up unannounced? Turn it into a surprise reunion? It sounded ridiculous, like a plot from one of those rom-coms Sarah loved, but desperation fueled him. He grabbed his laptop, fingers flying over the keys. Flight search, New York to Honolulu. Available seats tomorrow morning. Before he could second-guess it, he booked it. Economy class, window seat. Packing was frantic. Swimsuits, sunscreen, and a bottle of Jake's favorite whiskey as a peace offering. As the confirmation email pinged, Alex stared at his reflection in the mirror. Was this overkill? Maybe, but sitting here wallowing wasn't an option. Desperate times called for desperate measures, and if chasing his friends to paradise was what it took to salvage their bond, so be it. Little did he know, this impulsive trip would crack open doors he'd long thought closed, stirring up emotions that could redefine everything. The wheels of the Boeing 777 touched down on the sun-baked tarmac of Honolulu International Airport with a gentle thud, jolting Alex from his fitful nap. He'd spent the 6-hour flight from JFK second-guessing his impulsive decision, staring out at the endless Pacific Ocean below. At 32, chasing friends on their honeymoon felt like a plot twist from a bad sitcom. But here he was, lay around his neck from the airport greeter, inhaling the salty tropical air mixed with jet fuel. Hawaii, the land of aloha, volcanoes, and now his personal redemption quest. Alex grabbed his carry-on and hustled to the rental car counter, opting for a sleek red Jeep Wrangler to blend in with the island vibe. As he navigated the H1 freeway toward the North Shore, palm trees whipped by in the warm breeze, their fronds rustling like whispers of doubt. What the hell was he doing? Crashing a honeymoon screamed desperate, but the guilt from missing the wedding gnawed at him worse than any boss's deadline. He cranked up the radio, some upbeat ukulele cover of a pop hit, to drown out his racing thoughts. Checking into a budget-friendly hotel just down the beach from the luxurious Four Seasons where Jake and Sarah were holed up, Alex freshened up in the mirror. His reflection showed dark circles under his eyes, a testament to the red-eye flight and endless worry. He fired off a text to Jake. "Surprise, landed in paradise. In Hawaii for a quick vacay? Let's grab drinks and catch up." The reply buzzed back almost immediately. "No way, what a legend. We're at the Four Seasons in Ko Olina. Swing by, room 512. Mai Tais on us." Alex's heart hammered as he drove the short distance, the turquoise ocean glittering to his left like a postcard. Parking in the valet lot, he smoothed his rumpled polo shirt and took the elevator up, nerves buzzing like a swarm of bees. What if they thought he was intruding? What if Sarah was annoyed? The door swung open, and there she was, Sarah, radiant in a flowing yellow sundress that hugged her sun-kissed skin, her auburn hair tied back in a loose ponytail. Alex? Oh my God, is that really you? Her eyes widened in genuine surprise, and she pulled him into a hug. For a split second, time froze, the familiar scent of her coconut shampoo, the warmth of her embrace stirring up those buried college crushes. Old sparks flickered, unbidden and electric, before Alex pulled back with an awkward grin. Jake appeared behind her, towels slung over his shoulder, fresh from a swim. Bro, get in here. They clapped backs, and soon the three were on the balcony overlooking the infinity pool and crashing waves. Over frosty Mai Tais garnished with pineapple wedges, Alex spilled his guts, the unopened invitation, the work overload, the crushing regret. I'm an idiot. I wouldn't blame you if you kicked me out. They laughed it off, Jake's booming chuckle echoing, Sarah's lighter, melodic one joining in. It's fine, really, Jake said, clinking glasses. Honeymoon's been chill so far. Snorkeling, hikes, now it's even better with you here. But as the conversation flowed, Alex caught Sarah's gaze lingering a beat too long, her eyes holding a hint of something unspoken. Was it amusement, curiosity, or echoes of those what-ifs from their Boston days? The sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, but inside Alex, a storm brewed. This surprise might mend fences, but it could also unearth feelings better left buried in the sand. The Hawaiian sun beat down relentlessly on the pristine white sands of Ko'olina Beach, where turquoise waves lapped at the shore like a rhythmic heartbeat. Alex, Jake, and Sarah had claimed a prime spot early that morning, colorful umbrellas staked into the sand, a cooler stocked with chilled beers and fresh pineapple slices. After a lazy breakfast of acai bowls at the resort cafe, the trio decided to embrace the island life fully. Jake, ever the adrenaline junkie, rented a surfboard from a nearby shack, his athletic build cutting through the crowd as he paddled out into the swells. "Catch you later, landlubbers," he yelled back with a grin, disappearing into the foam. Alex and Sarah settled onto oversized beach towels under the shade, the salty breeze carrying hints at sunscreen and ocean spray. Sarah wore a simple black bikini that accentuated her toned figure from years of yoga, her skin already glowing with a fresh tan. Alex, in board shorts and a faded Boston University tee, tried to play it cool, but his eyes kept drifting to her. "So, spill it," Sarah said, propping herself up on her elbows and adjusting her oversized sunglasses. "I still can't believe you missed the wedding. The cake was to die for. Triple-layer chocolate with raspberry filling, drizzled in ganache. Jake's aunt baked it herself." Alex winced, rubbing the back of his neck as if the sun had burnt him. "Yeah, I'm officially the idiot of the year. Work's been a beast, non-stop pitches for this big tech client. But that's no excuse. Seeing you two so happy, it makes crashing your honeymoon totally worth the jet lag." He forced a laugh, but inside, regret churned like the waves. Sarah glanced out at Jake, who was riding a modest breaker with whoops of triumph. "We are happy, mostly." Her voice softened, barely audible over the crashing surf. She toyed with a seashell in the sand, her expression turning thoughtful. Weddings have a way of stirring things up, you know? All those vows and forever talk. It makes you think about the what-ifs, the roads not taken. Alex's heart skipped a beat, thudding against his ribs. Was she hinting at their shared history? Those late-night study sessions in college, where stolen glances and inside jokes had hinted at something more? He'd always wondered if she felt it too, that unspoken pull before Jake stepped in. Before Alex could muster the courage to probe deeper, maybe ask about those Boston memories, Jake came trudging back, board under his arm, dripping salt water everywhere. "That was epic. You guys gotta try it." He plopped down between them, oblivious to the charged air, shaking his wet hair like a dog and spraying them both. Sarah squealed in mock protest, the moment shattered. As they shared laughs and passed around cold drinks, Alex stole another look at Sarah. Her words lingered like the tropical humidity, heavy with possibility. The beach day stretched on, building sandcastles, snapping selfies, but underneath the fun, seeds of doubt and desire took root. What if this trip wasn't just about mending friendships? What if it was fate's way of rewriting old scripts? The golden hues of the Hawaiian sunset painted the sky as Alex, Jake, and Sarah settled into a cozy seaside restaurant in Ko'olina. Tiki torches flickered along the patio, casting dancing shadows on the thatched roof, while the distant crash of waves provided a soothing soundtrack. They'd opted for fresh seafood, grilled mahi-mahi with mango salsa, paired with chilled white wine from a local vineyard. Laughter flowed easily after the beach day, with Jake recounting his wipeouts on the surfboard and Sarah teasing Alex about his awkward sunburn. For a moment, the trio felt like those carefree college kids again, far from the complications of adult life. Midway through the meal, as Alex savored a bite of coconut shrimp, Jake's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at the screen, his easy smile fading into a mask of concern. "It's my sister," he muttered, swiping to answer. The conversation was brief, his voice dropping to hushed tones. "What? When? Is he stable?" Sarah reached for his hand, her green eyes wide with worry. Alex froze, fork midway to his mouth, sensing the shift in the air like an incoming storm. Jake hung up, his face ashen against the tan he'd earned from the island's sun. "Grandpa had a heart attack. He's in the ICU in Chicago. We need to fly back, first thing tomorrow." The words hung heavy, shattering the honeymoon bliss. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh no, Jake, is he okay?" Jake nodded grimly. "Docs say he's fighting, but we gotta be there." The honeymoon, barely 3 days in, was abruptly cut short. No more lazy beach lounges or sunset sails, just a rush of packing and panic. Alex sprang into action, pulling out his phone. "Let me handle the flights. You two focus on family." His marketing exec instincts kicked in, efficient, problem-solving mode. He booked 3 seats on the red-eye to O'Hare, upgrading to business class with his accumulated miles. "Done. We leave it done." Gratitude flashed in Jake's eyes. "Thanks, man. You're a lifesaver." As they paid the bill and headed back to the resort, the mood was somber, the tropical paradise suddenly feeling worlds away. On the plane the next morning, crammed into the dim cabin with the hum of engines drowning out thoughts, Sarah slid into the seat next to Alex while Jake dozed across the aisle, exhausted from a sleepless night. She leaned in close, her voice a whisper over the recycled air. "Jake's been so distant lately. It's not just the wedding stress. Work's been piling up on him. Engineering projects keeping him up at all hours." Alex nodded sympathetically, but inside, doubts began to swirl like the clouds outside the window. Was it really just work, or were there cracks in this fresh marriage already showing? Sarah's confiding tones stirred something in him, old affections bubbling up uninvited. As the plane hurtled toward Chicago, Alex wondered if this family crisis was a detour or the start of an unraveling. The unexpected twist had turned their island escape into a turbulent journey home, forcing confrontations none of them saw coming. The plane touched down at O'Hare International Airport amid a blustery Chicago afternoon, gray skies mirroring the somber mood. Alex, Jake, and Sarah piled into a rideshare, the Windy City's iconic skyline looming like a reminder of home's harsh realities. They headed straight to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where Jake's grandpa lay hooked up to beeping machines in the ICU. The sterile hallways smelled of antiseptic and worry as they navigated to his room. Grandpa Ellis, a tough old WW2 vet with a penchant for storytelling, had pulled through the heart attack, but his frail form under the blankets shook everyone to the core. "He's a fighter," the doctor assured them, but the close call hung heavy, a stark contrast to Hawaii's carefree beaches. With the crisis averted for now, Alex offered to crash at Jake and Sarah's cozy apartment in Wrigleyville, the vibrant neighborhood buzzing with Cubs fans and dive bars. "Least I can do after my epic fail," he insisted. Jake nodded gratefully, too drained to argue. The place was a charming 2-bedroom walk-up, walls adorned with Sarah's graphic art prints and Jake's engineering blueprints. Alex took the pull-out couch, his temporary setup amid unpacked honeymoon souvenirs. Days blurred into a whirlwind of support. Alex ran errands, picking up prescriptions from the corner Walgreens, grabbing takeout from Giordano's deep dish pizza, even walking their energetic golden retriever Buddy around Wrigley Field. One crisp evening, as autumn leaves swirled outside the windows, Jake headed out for another family visit, leaving Alex and Sarah alone. They ordered a large pepperoni pie from a local spot and cracked open a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon from Jake's collection. Lounging on the worn leather couch, the TV humming with a Cubs game in the background, conversation turned nostalgic. "Remember that road trip to Cape Cod senior year?" Sarah asked, her green eyes sparkling under the soft lamplight. She tucked a strand of auburn hair behind her ear, slicing into the gooey pizza. Alex smiled, the memory flooding back like a warm wave. "How could I forget? You and I belting out off-key Springsteen whole drive, Born to Run on repeat." Jake passed out in the back after too many clam chowders. They laughed, the sound echoing in the quiet apartment. But the air thickened with unspoken tension, the wine loosening inhibitions. Sarah set her slice down, leaning in closer, her knee brushing his. What if things had been different back then? If, timing hadn't gotten in the way? Alex's pulse raced, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The what-ifs he'd buried for years resurfaced, those stolen moments in college, the lingering glances. But reality crashed in. He pulled back slightly, clearing his throat. "You're married now, to my best friend. We can't go there." Sarah's cheeks flushed, and she nodded, averting her eyes. The moment hung suspended, charged with possibility and regret. As the game droned on, Alex wondered if this whirlwind detour was mending bonds or fraying them further. Chicago's winds howled outside the windows, foreshadowing storms yet to come in their tangled trio. Weeks slipped by in the cozy Wrigleyville apartment, and Alex's quick visit stretched into an indefinite stay. Chicago's crisp fall air turned biting as November approached, leaves crunching underfoot on daily runs to Starbucks for pumpkin spice lattes. Alex worked remotely from the dining table, his laptop surrounded by Sarah's sketch pads and Jake's scattered blueprints. He told himself he was just helping, driving Grandpa to follow-up appointments, cooking hearty Midwest chili on game nights, but deep down, he couldn't tear himself away. The trio had fallen into an easy rhythm: Cubs watch parties, brunches at Wildberry Pancake House, walks along Lake Michigan's windy shoreline. But beneath the surface, tension simmered. Alex noticed the small things first: Jake snapping at Sarah over misplaced keys, Sarah retreating to her home office for hours, designing logos for freelance clients. Their newlywed glow had faded faster than expected, replaced by exhausted silences. One Friday night, after a long day at the hospital visiting Grandpa, it boiled over. Jake came home late from work, tie loosened, frustration etched on his face. Sarah was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for stir-fry with more force than necessary. "You were flirting with him again," Jake accused suddenly, voice low but sharp, nodding toward Alex on the couch, scrolling through emails. Sarah's knife paused mid-chop. "What? Jake, that's ridiculous. Alex is your best friend. He's been nothing but supportive." Alex's stomach dropped, the room suddenly too small. He pretended to focus on his screen, but every word sliced through him. "It's not nothing," Jake pressed, running a hand through his hair. "The way you laugh at his jokes, the inside stories from college, I see it." Sarah slammed the knife down. "Maybe if you weren't buried in your engineering projects 24/7, you'd notice we're drifting apart." The argument escalated, voices rising, old resentments spilling out like an overflowing dam. Jake stormed out for a drive to clear his head, leaving Sarah in tears at the counter. Alex approached cautiously, guilt twisting in his gut. "Hey, you okay?" She wiped her eyes, forcing a weak smile. "It's nothing new. Wedding planning masked a lot." That night, as Jake slept on the couch after returning silent and sullen, Alex lay awake on the air mattress, replaying the fight. He felt complicit, the lingering glances with Sarah, the nostalgic chats. This wasn't innocent anymore. The next morning, over black coffee and bagels from a neighborhood deli, Alex confronted Jake while Sarah was out walking Buddy. "You two need to talk, for real, not this bottled-up crap." Jake sighed, staring into his mug. "I know. I rushed the wedding. Felt like the next logical step after dating so long, but now I'm scared we're not ready, or maybe not right." The admission hung heavy, cracking the foundation of what Alex thought was solid. He advised counseling, suggesting apps and therapists he'd researched late at night. Jake nodded, gratitude mixing with defeat. As Alex packed to finally head back to New York, he planted those seeds of hope, but inside, a selfish spark ignited. If their marriage was fracturing, what did that mean for the feelings he'd suppressed all these years? Chicago's winds rattled the windows, whispering changes on the horizon. Alex's flight back to New York touched down at JFK under a blanket of December snow, the city a glittering chaos of holiday lights and honking taxis. He'd finally left Chicago after weeks of playing third wheel in Jake and Sarah's crumbling marriage, his suitcase heavier with guilt than clothes. The Wrigleyville apartment, once a temporary refuge, had become a pressure cooker, and Alex knew it was time to bow out. Remote work from the pull-out couch couldn't last forever, and his boss was hinting at a big promotion if he showed face in the office. Back in his tiny Manhattan studio, the silence hit hard. No Buddy the dog barking for walks, no Sarah's laughter echoing from the kitchen, no Jake cracking open beers for Cubs games. Alex dove headfirst into work to drown the noise in his head. Late nights at the Midtown agency, pitching campaigns for luxury brands, schmoozing clients over steak dinners at Keen's. It paid off. Within weeks, he landed the senior account director role, complete with a corner office overlooking Bryant Park and a salary bump that finally let him ditch takeout for actual groceries. But thoughts of Sarah haunted him like ghosts in the subway tunnels. Late-night texts from her, tearful voice memos about fights with Jake, questions about what went wrong. "He wants an annulment," she confessed one night over a crackling phone line, her voice breaking. "Says we're better as friends, that we rushed everything." Alex's heart soared traitorously, even as he urged her to fight for it. "Talk to him, Sarah. Counseling worked for my parents once. Don't throw it away." He meant it, mostly. Jake was his brother in all but blood. Yet the idea of Sarah single again cracked open doors he'd slammed shut years ago. Chicago winters raged on in his mind. Snowball fights they'd never had, quiet moments on the couch that lingered too long. Alex hit the gym harder, pounding the treadmill to outrun the what-ifs. He dated casually, a marketer from Brooklyn, a lawyer from the Upper East Side, but nothing stuck. They weren't her. As the holidays approached, Times Square aglow with tourists and giant ornaments, Alex stared at his phone during the office Christmas party. Jake had gone radio silent, buried in work or regret. Sarah's messages slowed, then stopped. Redemption felt distant, like a subway delay on New Year's Eve. Alex raised a glass of cheap champagne alone on his fire escape, watching fireworks over the Hudson. Missing that wedding had been his catalyst, the blunder that propelled him across the country into the heart of their unraveling. Now, with promotion confetti still on his desk, he wondered if second chances were real, or if some roads, once diverged, led only forward, leaving the past buried under fresh snow. Spring had finally chased away New York's brutal winter, and cherry blossoms exploded along the Brooklyn waterfront like pink fireworks. Alex's new corner office at the agency overlooked it all, a daily reminder of how far he'd climbed since the Hawaii fiasco. At 33 now, life felt stable. Big accounts, a gym routine that kept the regrets at bay, and a social circle that filled weekends with rooftop bars and Knicks games. He'd heard whispers through mutual friends. Jake and Sarah's marriage had quietly ended with an annulment just after the new year. No drama, no scandal, just two people admitting they'd mistaken comfort for forever. Then, one Thursday evening in May, an email pinged his inbox while he nursed a craft IPA at a Soho happy hour. Subject line, "Post-wedding party, better late than never," from Jake. Alex's heart stuttered. The invite was for a casual reunion bash in Boston, their old college stomping grounds, at a trendy rooftop bar overlooking the Charles River. "Come celebrate life, love, and second chances," it read. "No hard feelings, bro. We miss you." Alex stared at the screen longer than necessary. Part of him wanted to delete it. Too much history, too many landmines. But curiosity, and something deeper, won out. He RSVP'd yes before he could overthink it. The drive up I-95 the following weekend felt like time travel. Classic rock on the radio, dunking coffee in the cup holder, memories flooding back with every mile marker. Boston in spring was alive, students tossing frisbees on the common, rowers slicing through the river. The rooftop venue was packed with familiar faces from their BU days, laughter mixing with the thump of a live band covering 90s hits. Jake spotted him first, pulling him into a bear hug that felt genuinely warm. "You made it, man. Good to see you." No awkwardness, just relief. Then Sarah appeared through the crowd, stunning in an emerald dress that matched her eyes, her auburn hair cascading in loose waves. Time stopped. "Alex," she said softly, smiling in a way that lit up the entire rooftop. They hugged, and electricity crackled, stronger than Hawaii, stronger than Chicago nights on the couch. As the night deepened, the city lights twinkled below like scattered diamonds. The three of them found a quiet corner table, cocktails in hand. Jake raised his glass. To missed weddings and new beginnings. They clinked, and conversation flowed effortlessly. Old stories, new jobs, the quiet dissolution that somehow hadn't destroyed their friendship. Later, when Jake stepped away to greet other guests, the band slowed into a soulful cover of Wicked Game. Sarah turned to Alex, her hand brushing his. "Dance with me?" On the crowded floor, bodies swaying close, she whispered, "I missed you, more than I should have." The confession hung between them like the humid Boston air. Alex's pulse raced. He tilted her chin up, searching her eyes, and kissed her. Soft at first, then deeper, years of what-ifs igniting into fireworks that rivaled the 4th of July. When they pulled apart, breathless, Sarah smiled. Finally! In that moment, under the stars of their old college city, Alex knew the reunion wasn't just a party, it was the start of something real. Summer swept into New York City like a love song, humid air thick with possibility and the scent of street vendor hot dogs. Alex and Sarah's first official date happened 2 weeks after that rooftop kiss in Boston. No labels yet, just two old friends testing the waters. He took her to a hidden speakeasy in the West Village, the kind with a secret door behind a bookstore. Over craft cocktails garnished with edible flowers, they talked for hours about the annulment, amicable, no lawyers needed, about Jake's encouragement, "You two always had something," he'd said, about how terrifying and thrilling it felt to start over at 30-something. Dating Sarah was like rediscovering a favorite song you'd forgotten existed. They wandered Central Park on lazy Sundays, sharing oversized pretzels and stealing kisses under the Bow Bridge. Weeknights meant Broadway shows, Alex splurged on Hamilton tickets with his promotion bonus, or quiet dinners at hole-in-the-wall Italian spots in Little Italy, twirling spaghetti while debating everything from politics to the best pizza in the city, Chicago deep dish versus New York thin crust, an argument they'd never settle. Sarah moved into Alex's Manhattan apartment temporarily while hunting for freelance graphic design gigs. Her sketches covered the fridge, colorful bursts of creativity amid his minimalist decor. Mornings were coffee on the fire escape, watching the city wake up. Evenings were takeout Thai and Netflix marathons, her head on his shoulder like it belonged there. The chemistry was undeniable, playful banter turning into passionate nights, years of pent-up longing finally unleashed. But Jake's shadow lingered. One night over wine, Alex asked the question gnawing at him. "He's really okay with this? With us?" Sarah set her glass down, meeting his eyes steadily. "He encouraged it, Alex, said we were always the ones meant to be, that he and I were comfortable, but you and I, we spark." Relief washed over him, followed by gratitude. Jake wasn't erased, he was family, just redefined. To prove it, Alex suggested a double date. Brooklyn rooftop bar, string lights twinkling over the East River. Jake showed up with Emily, a sweet pediatric nurse he'd met at the hospital during Grandpa's recovery. Burgers and craft beers flowed, laughter louder than the traffic below. No awkward silences, just stories and toasts. To the wedding nobody missed, Jake joked, clinking bottles. As the night ended with hugs all around, Alex felt the final knot untie. Forgiveness wasn't needed. They'd all grown. Walking Sarah home hand in hand, the skyline glittering like promise, Alex squeezed her fingers. New beginnings weren't clean slates. They were built on history, stronger for the detours, and this one felt like home. Fall settled over New York like a heavy blanket, the leaves in Central Park turning fiery shades of red and gold before drifting to the ground. Alex and Sarah had been together 6 blissful months, weekend brunches at Clinton Street Baking Company, lazy evenings binge-watching Succession on his couch, her sketches now permanently scattered across his coffee table. Their relationship felt effortless, like slipping into a favorite old jacket that somehow fit better than before. Alex had even started leaving a drawer empty for her things, a quiet signal of permanence. Then came Mike. Sarah's phone buzzed one Thursday night while they were cooking pasta in Alex's tiny kitchen, garlic sizzling, red wine open. She glanced at the screen and smiled in a way that made Alex's stomach twist. "Old friend from high school," she said casually, typing a quick reply. Mike Reynolds, star quarterback turned successful doctor, the guy every girl in their suburban Chicago high school had swooned over. He'd moved to Manhattan for a residency at Mount Sinai, and apparently, fate, or Facebook, had brought him back into Sarah's orbit. At first, it was harmless. Coffee catch-ups just to reminisce, texts about mutual friends, funny memories from prom. Alex told himself he was being paranoid. Sarah loved him. She'd chosen him. But the messages kept coming. Late-night laughs over inside jokes Alex wasn't part of. Mike sending her throwback photos, Sarah in her cheer uniform, him in his Letterman jacket, arms slung around each other like they owned the world. Jealousy crept in like subway rats, quiet, persistent, impossible to ignore. Alex found himself checking her phone when she showered, hating himself for it. One Saturday, Sarah mentioned grabbing drinks with Mike after a design meeting. "It's nothing," she insisted, kissing Alex goodbye. "Just old friends." That night, alone with a beer and the hum of the city outside his window, Alex spiraled. He scrolled through Mike's Instagram, perfect life, perfect smile, vacation photos in the Maldives, everything Alex wasn't. When Sarah came home hours later, cheeks flush from wine and laughter, something snapped. "You're seeing him again?" Alex asked, voice tighter than he intended. Sarah's smile faded. "It's coffee, Alex, or drinks. We're catching up, that's all." "It doesn't feel like that's all." The words tumbled out, accusing about secrecy, about how Mike looked at her in those old photos, about how Alex always felt like the second choice. Sarah's eyes flashed with anger. "You're paranoid. Mike was a teenage fling. You're the one I come home to, the one I want." But her defensiveness only fueled the fire. Voices rose, echoing off the apartment walls. "If you trusted me, this wouldn't be an issue." Alex grabbed his keys and stormed out into the rainy night, collar turned up against the downpour. He walked for hours, past neon lights in Times Square, through empty Washington Square Park, replaying every insecurity. Was he sabotaging the best thing that ever happened to him? Or was this storm warning him of trouble ahead? By the time he returned, soaked and exhausted, Sarah was asleep on the couch, tear stains on her cheeks. For the first time, their perfect new beginning felt fragile, cracks spiderwebbing across the foundation they'd so carefully built. The rain had stopped by the time Alex trudged back to his apartment, shoes soaked through, the city's neon glow reflecting in puddles like shattered mirrors. It was past 2 a.m., and the fight with Sarah still echoed in his head. Accusations, raised voices, the slam of the door. He'd walked the streets of Manhattan for hours, letting the cold bite snap him out of his jealousy spiral. Mike? Just the name made his jaw clench. But deep down, Alex knew the problem wasn't Mike. It was his own insecurity, the fear that he was always the runner-up. Inside, the apartment was dark, except for the soft glow of the kitchen light. Sarah sat at the counter, wrapped in his old BU hoodie, nursing a mug of chamomile tea. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but she looked up when he entered, relief flickering across her face. "You came back." Alex dropped his keys on the table, the clink loud in the silence. "I'm sorry," he said immediately, voice rough. "I was an idiot, paranoid. I shouldn't have stormed out." Sarah set her mug down and crossed the room, pulling him into a hug that smelled like home, her shampoo, the faint trace of garlic from dinner. "I'm sorry too. I should have shut Mike down sooner. It was thoughtless." They moved to the couch, curling up under a shared blanket like they did on movie nights. Alex took a deep breath. I keep thinking I'm the consolation prize. You and Jake were together forever. Mike was your high school sweetheart. And me? I'm the guy who showed up late to everything." Sarah cupped his face, forcing him to meet her gaze. "Listen to me. Mike was a teenage crush, fun memories, nothing more. And Jake, we were comfortable, but never on fire. You, Alex, you make me feel alive. The way you challenge me, make me laugh until my sides hurt. I chose you. I keep choosing you." The next day, Alex knew he needed backup. He met Jake for beers at a dive bar in Brooklyn, the kind with sticky floors and a jukebox playing Springsteen. Jake slid a pint across the scarred wooden table. "Sarah told me about the fight. You okay?" Alex groaned. "I turned into a jealous jerk over some guy from her past." Jake leaned back, smirking. "Dude, don't let insecurity ruin this. Sarah's crazy about you. Always has been. Even back in college, I saw it. I got in the way once. Don't do it to yourself now." His words hit hard, honest and brotherly. Trust her. Trust what you've got. Inspired, Alex stopped at a florist on the way home. 24 sunflowers, Sarah's favorite. He cooked her favorite meal, homemade carbonara with extra bacon, garlic bread on the side. When she walked in, exhausted from a client meeting, her face lit up. "What's all this?" "Apology dinner," he said, pulling her close. Over candlelight and shared plates, Sarah confessed, "Mike texted today. I told him I'm happily taken and to lose my number." Relief flooded Alex. They talked until the candles burned low, about fears, about building something real. As they fell into bed, tangled and forgiven, Alex knew they were stronger for the storm. Some cracks let the light in. Winter had finally loosened its grip on New York, and Alex decided it was time to hit the reset button the right way. No more jealousy, no more doubts. Just him and Sarah, chasing the open road like the college kids they used to be. He planned a 2-week cross-country adventure, New York to California in a rented black Mustang convertible, top down whenever the weather allowed, classic rock blasting from the speakers. They kicked off in early spring, crossing the George Washington Bridge at dawn, Manhattan shrinking in the rearview. First stop, Philadelphia, for authentic cheesesteaks at Pat's, arguing over wit or without like true locals. Then south to D.C., strolling the National Mall hand in hand, cherry blossoms drifting like confetti as Alex stole kisses under the Jefferson Memorial. The real magic started in the heartland. They cruised through Pennsylvania's rolling hills, then hit the endless flat of Ohio, stopping at quirky roadside diners for pie and coffee. In Chicago, Sarah's old turf, they detoured to Wrigley Field for a Cubs game, hot dogs and old style in hand. Jake met them for beers afterward, the three laughing like old times, any lingering awkwardness buried for good. Further west, the landscape opened up, golden prairies giving way to the dramatic reds of the Grand Canyon. They hiked the rim trail at sunset, Sarah's auburn hair glowing against the vast chasm. "This is insane," she whispered, squeezing his hand as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the rocks in fire. That night, in a cozy cabin wrapped in blankets by a crackling fire, Alex felt their bond deepen. No distractions, just them. Vegas was next. Neon lights, cheap buffets, and a spontaneous slot machine win that funded a fancy steak dinner. They laughed until their sides hurt watching a ridiculous magic show, Sarah's head on his shoulder. Then the final push through the Mojave Desert, Joshua trees standing like sentinels, into the golden hills of Northern California. San Francisco greeted them with fog rolling under the Golden Gate Bridge. They parked the Mustang at Battery Spencer Overlook, the iconic orange towers rising through the mist. Alex's heart hammered as he led Sarah to the edge, the wind whipping around them. He'd carried the ring for days, a simple solitaire he'd picked out in Manhattan's Diamond District, classic like her. He dropped to one knee on the gravel path, the city sparkling behind him. Sarah Monroe, from missed weddings to this crazy road trip, you've been my favorite adventure. Marry me? For real this time. No annulments, no what-ifs. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she nodded furiously. Yes, 1,000 times yes. The kiss tasted like salt air and forever. The bridge a perfect symbol of the journey they'd crossed to get here. As they drove back east weeks later, engaged and sun-kissed, Alex knew this trip had solidified everything. Some love stories needed detours, Grand Canyons, neon deserts, foggy bridges to find their way home. Summer humidity clung to the Hamptons like a lover who wouldn't let go. The Atlantic breeze the only relief as Alex and Sarah dove headfirst into wedding planning. Their engagement glow hadn't faded since San Francisco. If anything, it burned brighter. They chose a beachfront venue in East Hampton, white shingled inn, rolling dunes, the ocean as their backdrop. No stuffy ballroom for them. This would be barefoot elegance, string lights over long farm tables, lobster rolls, and champagne under the stars. Sarah attacked the details with her designer's eye. Mood boards exploded across their Brooklyn brownstone. Soft blues and ivories, wildflower centerpieces, lanterns floating in the surf at dusk. She sketched invitations herself, elegant script on thick cotton paper, a subtle nod to the mist wedding cake with a tiny raspberry illustration in the corner. Alex handled logistics, booking the acoustic trio that played Springsteen covers, securing a caterer famous for truffle mac and cheese, and, most importantly, naming Jake his best man. "Full circle, bro," Jake had said over FaceTime, grinning wide. But not everyone was thrilled. Sarah's parents flew in from Chicago for a weekend visit, landing at JFK with Midwestern skepticism. Over brunch at Sarah Beth's on the Upper East Side, eggs Benedict and endless mimosas, her mom laid it out. "Honey, it's so soon after everything. People will talk. And Alex, he's lovely, but are you sure?" Her dad nodded silently, buttering his toast with unnecessary force. The rebound word hung unspoken but heavy. Sarah's eyes welled up. Alex squeezed her hand under the table, heart pounding. He wasn't about to let family drama derail them. That afternoon, he suggested a barbecue at their brownstone rooftop. Casual, no pressure. He fired up the grill, juicy burgers, corn on the cob slathered in herb butter, cold beers from a local Brooklyn brewery. Jake even zoomed in from Chicago, raising a toast that made everyone laugh. Alex shared stories, how Sarah had pulled him through his early New York struggles, how she'd always been the one who truly saw him. By sunset, with the skyline twinkling and fireflies dancing, Sarah's mom pulled Alex aside. "You make her happier than I've ever seen," she admitted, hugging him tight. Her dad clapped him on the back, Midwest approval sealed, crisis averted. Back inside, spreadsheets and swatches scattered everywhere, Sarah curled against Alex on the couch. "We're really doing this," she whispered. He kissed her temple. "Yeah, and this time nobody's missing it." The perfect day was taking shape, one that honored their messy journey and promised the future they'd earned. The Hamptons' wedding was 6 weeks away, and New York City pulsed with pre-wedding frenzy. Alex's buddies decided he needed one last blowout before trading freedom for forever. They whisked him off to Las Vegas, Sin City style, for a 4-day bachelor party extravaganza. 10 guys piled into a private jet from Teterboro, stocked with craft beers and playlists heavy on AC/DC and Springsteen. By the time they landed at Harry Reid International, the energy was electric. They checked into a sprawling suite at the Bellagio, fountain views, marble, everything, a poker table already set up. Day 1, high-stakes Texas Hold'em with a pro dealer, Alex cleaning up until he lost it all on a bluff, laughing harder than he'd laughed in years. Night 1, Cirque du Soleil's O, followed by bottle service at a rooftop club overlooking the Strip, bass thumping as the guys toasted to the man who finally caught the girl. Day 2 brought poolside debauchery at Encore Beach Club, cabana, endless mimosas, and more sun than Alex's East Coast skin could handle. A surprise steak dinner at Carbone, plates of veal parm and spicy rigatoni, stories growing taller with every glass of Barolo. Then the main event, front row seats to a legendary magic show, jaws dropping as illusions defied logic. But Vegas being Vegas, temptations slinked in. Around 2 a.m. on night 3, after shots at a speakeasy hidden behind a donut shop, Alex's phone lit up. A name from his past, Lauren, the fiery redhead he dated briefly before Sarah re-entered his life. She'd heard through the grapevine he was in town. Drinks, for old time's sake? The text came with a winking emoji and a photo that left little to imagination. The guys egged him on. One last wild night, dude. But Alex stared at the screen, heart steady. Sarah's face flashed in his mind, her laugh on the Golden Gate Bridge, the way she fit perfectly against him. He typed back, "Appreciate it, but I'm all in on my fiancé. Take care." He showed the guys, who erupted in cheers and backslaps. "That's our boy. Locked down and loving it." Meanwhile, across the country, in Miami, Sarah's bachelorette was pure empowerment. Yacht day with her closest girlfriends, bikinis and bottomless rosé, dancing to Beyoncé under the Florida sun. Spa treatments, a drag brunch that had them crying with laughter, and zero drama. She FaceTimed Alex that night, both a little tipsy, whispering, "I miss you," across the miles. Back in Vegas, hungover but happy, Alex watched the fountains one last time. No regrets, no what-ifs, just excitement for the life waiting on the other side. Bachelor days were fun, but the real adventure started when he said, "I do." The calendar flipped to late August, and the Hamptons air carried the salty promise of summer's end. With just 10 days until the wedding, Alex's Brooklyn brownstone had transformed into wedding central. Boxes of custom favors stacked in the hallway, seating charts pinned to the fridge, and Sarah's gown hanging in a garment bag like a closely guarded secret. Alex woke most mornings in a cold sweat, haunted by the same nightmare. He was racing to the venue, traffic snarling the Long Island Expressway, arriving just as the ceremony ended. Ironic payback for missing Jake's wedding all those years ago. He laughed it off with Sarah over coffee, but the dreams stuck like sand in his shoes. To combat the nerves, Alex turned into a checklist tyrant. He triple confirmed the rings with the jeweler, a simple platinum band for him, the solitaire engagement rings matching counterpart for her. Vows were scribbled on index cards, revised a dozen times, promises of presence, of never missing another moment. The cake was locked in, 3-tier chocolate with raspberry filling, a deliberate echo of the one he'd never tasted at Jake and Sarah's first attempt. "This time I'll actually get a slice," he joked to the baker. Sarah glowed through it all, fittings at a boutique in Soho turning her into a vision in ivory lace that hugged her curves and flowed like ocean waves. She spun in front of the mirror, eyes shining. "No cold feet?" Alex teased during one try-on. She kissed him fiercely. "Only if they're barefoot on the beach like we planned." Jake flew in early as best man, crashing on their couch and helping with last-minute chaos, assembling welcome bags filled with local wine and sunscreen, rehearsing his toast until it was heartfelt but not tear-jerking. "Gonna keep it short," he promised, something about second chances and not missing the important stuff. Friends trickled into town, college buddies booking Airbnbs, Sarah's Chicago crew renting a sprawling beach house. Rehearsal dinner at a clam shack in Montauk, lobster rolls, corn on the cob, cold beers under string lights. Laughter echoed as stories flowed, the group toasting the couple who turned a missed invitation into this moment. That night, back home, Alex lay awake listening to the city hum outside. Sarah slept peacefully beside him, her hand on his chest. The nightmare crept in again, but this time he shook it off. Everything was checked, double-checked, ready. The big day was coming. No delays, no detours. Just them, the ocean, and a promise kept. The sun hung low over the Hamptons, turning the Atlantic into a sheet of molten gold as guests gathered on the private stretch of East Hampton Beach. White wooden chairs faced the ocean, draped in flowing ivory linen that fluttered in the salt-kissed breeze. Wildflowers, blues and whites tied with twine, marked each aisle, while lanterns waited to glow as dusk fell. Barefoot and beaming, friends and family settled in. Sarah's Chicago relatives mixing with Alex's New York crew, college buddies snapping photos, Jake standing proud at the front as best man. Alex waited under a simple arch woven with dune grass and roses, heart pounding harder than any Manhattan deadline. He wore a light gray linen suit, sleeves rolled, feet in the warm sand. When the acoustic trio began a soft instrumental of Springsteen's I'm on Fire, everyone turned. Sarah appeared at the end of the aisle on her father's arm, and the world narrowed to her alone. The ivory lace gown skimmed her figure, train trailing lightly over the sand, veil catching the wind like sea foam. Her green eyes locked on Alex's, shining with tears and joy. She reached him, and her father placed her hand in his before stepping back with a nod. The officiant, a close friend from BU, smiled and began. Vows came next, personal and raw. Alex went first, voice steady despite the emotion choking him. Sarah, I spent years missing the moments that mattered, buried in work, late to everything. But from the day I crashed your honeymoon like an idiot, you've taught me presence. I promise to show up every single day, to choose you, to listen, to never miss another sunset, another laugh, another fight we make up from. I promise to never miss a moment with you. Sarah laughed through happy tears, squeezing his hands. Alex, you turned a forgotten invitation into the greatest adventure of my life. You see me, the real me, and love every part. I promise to keep choosing you through deadlines and detours, through every road trip and quiet night. I'll keep sketching our story, one beautiful page at a time. Rings exchanged, simple platinum bands warmed by the sun, the officiant grinned. By the power vested in me by the state of New York and this incredible beach, I pronounce you husband and wife. Kiss your bride, Alex. No missing this one. He did, lifting her veil and pulling her close as the ocean roared approval and guests erupted in cheers. Jake led the whoops. To the wedding nobody missed. Rice scattered, petals flew, and the newlyweds walked the aisle as Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, the sky exploding into pinks and oranges behind them. The perfect day had arrived. Messy journey honored, future wide open. The Amalfi Coast welcomed Alex and Sarah with open arms and endless blue. They'd chosen Italy for their honeymoon, Rome first, then the winding coastal road to Positano, where pastel houses tumbled down cliffs into the Tyrrhenian Sea. No hectic schedules, no work emails, just the two of them, and the kind of slow, sun-drenched days that made time feel elastic. In Rome, they wandered hand in hand through ancient ruins, tossing coins into the Trevi fountain for luck they already felt they had. Alex snapped photos of Sarah laughing over gelato, pistachio for her, stracciatella for him, her sundress fluttering in the warm breeze. They ate carbonara in a tiny trattoria near the Pantheon, twirling pasta while debating whether Rome or New York had the better energy. At night, they strolled across the Tiber, city lights dancing on the water, stealing kisses under stone bridges that had seen centuries of lovers. Then came Venice. Gondolas glided beneath them as they drifted through narrow canals, Sarah's head on Alex's shoulder. St. Mark's Square at dusk felt magical, pigeons scattering as they shared tiramisu from a street-side cafe. They got delightfully lost in the labyrinth of alleys, emerging at hidden piazzas where accordion music floated in the air. One evening, on a quiet bridge away from tourists, Alex pulled her close. Missing that first wedding was the best mistake I ever made, he murmured against her hair. Sarah tilted her face up, eyes sparkling. because it led us here, to this. Positano was pure paradise, vertical town of colorful buildings stacked against the cliff, bougainvillea spilling over balconies. Their hotel room opened onto a private terrace overlooking the sea, breakfasts of fresh cornetti and cappuccino delivered each morning. They spent days on pebbled beaches, swimming in crystal water so clear they could see fish darting below. Afternoons were lazy, reading side by side under striped umbrellas, Sarah sketching the coastline while Alex traced lazy circles on her back. Evenings brought aperitivo hours, spritzes at cliffside bars, watching fishing boats return as the sun melted into the horizon. One night, they dined at a candlelit restaurant carved into the rock, plates of lemon-scented seafood and chilled Falangina wine. No interruptions, no crises, just laughter, lingering touches, and conversations that stretched late into the star-filled sky. Lying tangled in sheets that smelled of sea salt and jasmine, Alex reflected on the long road, from a spilled coffee mug in Manhattan to this moment of perfect harmony. Every detour, the missed invitation, the annulment, the jealousy, the proposal on the Golden Gate, had been necessary. They'd earned this peace. As waves crashed softly below their terrace, Sarah whispered, "This is our forever." Alex kissed her slowly, knowing she was right. Some loves needed time, distance, and second chances to become unbreakable. Back from Italy, Alex and Sarah traded honeymoon suitcases for moving boxes. They'd closed on a charming 3-story brownstone in Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn. Red brick, original hardwood floors, a tiny backyard perfect for summer barbecues. Manhattan's hustle felt like a past life. This was their grown-up chapter, complete with a mortgage and plans for a vegetable garden. Settling in was pure domestic bliss. Weekends meant trips to the Union Square Green Market, Sarah picking out heirloom tomatoes and fresh basil, while Alex hauled bags of groceries, arguing over the best coffee roast. They painted the kitchen a soft sage green, hung her graphic art on the walls, and turned the spare room into a home office shared between his marketing pitches and her freelance designs. Evenings were for cooking together, perfecting homemade pizza on a pizza stone, dancing around the kitchen island to old Springsteen albums. Careers thrived in tandem. Alex's promotion led to leading major campaigns, but he made boundaries. No emails after 7 p.m., weekends sacred. Sarah's big break came when a boutique bakery chain hired her to brand their new locations. Dream Design Bakery was born, a cozy shop in Cobble Hill specializing in artisanal cakes and pastries. Opening day brought a line down the block. Chocolate raspberry layer cakes, their signature nod to the past, lemon lavender scones, and espresso strong enough to wake the dead. Alex stood proudly behind the counter in an apron, handing out samples, while Sarah beamed from behind the register. Jake visited often, driving in from Chicago or catching cheap flights. Their trio reformed stronger. Game nights with craft beers, backyard fires roasting marshmallows, Buddy, the golden retriever, now theirs after Jake gifted him, chasing fireflies. No weirdness, just family. Jake even brought his new girlfriend, Emily the nurse, who fit right in with her quick laugh and killer guacamole recipe. Life found its rhythm. Morning runs along the Brooklyn waterfront, watching ferries cut through the East River toward Manhattan's skyline. Lazy Sundays with the Times spread across the dining table, coffee steaming, Sarah's feet in Alex's lap. They hosted their first Thanksgiving, turkey brined in cider, Sarah's mom finally fully on board, carving alongside Alex's parents who flew in from Boston. Some nights, lying in their king bed, with windows open to the brownstone's quiet street, Alex traced circles on Sarah's back. "We made it," he whispered. She smiled sleepily. From missed invitations to this, worth every detour. Their Brooklyn home wasn't just walls and mortar, it was proof that second chances, when fought for, built something unbreakable. 5 years slipped by in the blink of a Brooklyn sunset. The Carroll Gardens brownstone had grown into a real home. Toys scattered across the living room rug, finger paint masterpieces taped to the fridge, and a swing set in the backyard where laughter rang out every weekend. Alex and Sarah's daughter, Emma, had arrived 2 years after the wedding, a tiny bundle with her mother's green eyes and her father's stubborn chin. Now 3, she ruled the house with chubby-cheeked demands for one more story and extra chocolate chips in her pancakes. Alex stood at the kitchen island on a crisp December afternoon, stirring hot cocoa while Sarah frosted cupcakes for Emma's preschool holiday party. Dream Design Bakery had expanded to 3 locations: Williamsburg, Park Slope, and a flagship in Dumbo. Sarah's chocolate raspberry cake still the best seller. Alex had made partner at the agency, leading campaigns for global brands, but he was home by 6 every night, phone on silent. No more missed moments. Their anniversary party that evening filled the brownstone with warmth and light. String lights twinkled over the backyard, heaters glowing against the chill. Jake arrived first, Uncle Jake now, scooping Emma onto his shoulders as she squealed. He and Emily were married too, with a toddler of their own tugging at his leg. Old college friends mingled with bakery regulars, neighbors, and family. Sarah's parents beaming from Chicago, Alex's dad telling the same fishing stories to anyone who'd listen. As snow flurries danced outside the windows, everyone gathered in the living room. Alex raised a glass of champagne, the room falling quiet. 10 years ago, he began, voice thick with emotion. I missed a wedding because I was too buried in work to open an envelope. That one mistake started everything, led me to Hawaii, to Chicago nights I'll never forget, to fights and forgiveness, to the love of my life. He looked at Sarah, who held Emma on her hip, tears shining. It led to this beautiful chaos, to our daughter, our home, our family. Sarah stepped forward, clinking her glass against his. Sometimes the wrong turn takes you exactly where you belong. Jake toasted next. To Alex and Sarah, the couple who proved second chances aren't just possible, they're the best kind. Laughter and cheers filled the room as Emma demanded cake now. They cut into a massive chocolate raspberry masterpiece, the same flavor that started it all. Later, wrapped in blankets on the porch, watching snow blanket the garden, Alex pulled Sarah close. Happy anniversary, Mrs. Thompson. She smiled against his shoulder. Happy ever after, Mr. Thompson. In the glow of their life, messy, real, perfectly theirs, Alex knew some stories didn't end with the wedding. They began there.